Hey guys, welcome to Tom Talks. On this episode, we'll be talking about...
This group is buying half of the houses in Texas.
Like baby sheep, you won't find them at Veal Ranch, but maybe you'll find your next home.
The Dallas police are going to start having to protect and serve soon.
Did you know you've got $2,400 a year laying around your house?
And why winning the lottery is horrible.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. My name is Tom Jung. I am your host.
And I'm Jack Lisenby, co-host.
And it's a show where we talk about a little bit of everything Fort Worth. So I want to kick things off. First of all, if you're looking to buy or sell a house, of course, we'll help you with that, invest, that sort of thing. Our plugs got hit. Our website is tomstexasrealty.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Tom's Texas Realty and at tom.things on TikTok. So keep up with us there. And did you have a good weekend? Do anything cool?
Yeah, it was cool. You were there.
Yeah, we got stranded on a lake and had to get towed in.
Had some good Samaritans come hook it up.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Thanks for the guy and...
Shout out to Boat Guy for saving us.
Boat Guy and his 4 kids. I'm sure that's how they wanted to spend that 30 minutes of the day. So, first off, before we get going, I wanted to say thanks to all of our clients out there. We've been able to do a lot of really cool stuff, and all of our clients allow us to do what we love doing. And so anyways, recently we just donated to House for a Home, which is a charity that a good friend of mine, Bryson Swigert, started. And they build homes over in Africa in different communities that really need them, which may not have any cover over their head or whatever. And so they've been doing some really cool stuff over there. I think they're also doing, they're putting in wells and things like that now. But anyways, because of you guys, we've been able to basically start building a new house over there. So anyways, wanted to say thanks before we got started. So what do we got today?
Well, so we're going to start off with this very interesting topic. There's obviously a shortage of places for people to live right now in Texas. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of become it's such a demand right now that it's become a very lucrative thing for people. Like, we have people buying up houses and making rentals, flipping them. I can't speak today. Renovating, remodeling, all this stuff. 1 in 2 houses in 2021 in Tarrant County were bought by a corporation or a company of some sort.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So not necessarily to flip or remodel, but a good chunk of them were. So, like, obviously some people, they'll buy their house for them under an LLC, right. Things like that. That's as well.
We do it. Yeah.
So it's not 100% people just trying to make a quick buck or anything like that, but they accounted for about 52% of sales in the Tarrant County area.
Right. 1 out of 20? Or
one out of two.
Oh, I heard 1 out of 20. I was like, wow, that's really low.
I might have said 1 out of 20. I definitely meant one of every 2 houses was bought by a company.
Oh, man, that seems a little bit high.
Yeah, it's quite a bit, but we do have such a huge influx into the DFW area of just business and things like that. The people who are going out and acquiring these properties, they know that. They're very aware that people are going to need places to stay. They may not necessarily be permanent or long-term.
Right.
So it may be more profitable for somebody to buy it and rent it out.
Right. And there's a lot of people with uncertainty. When the markets are uncertain, a lot of people put their money in real estate. So
yeah, that's also fair with the way the stock market has been looking recently.
I haven't even looked. I don't look at it.
It's depressing.
Okay. Good to know. Let me know when it hits the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I found some statistics, and roughly we've since 2021 or in 2021 there's been an 11% increase in homes available.
Okay.
The price of homes has gone up about 40%. The price of rent has gone up a little over 30%, and the sale of houses has gone up 70%. So you have a lot more people looking to buy homes than there are homes being built or available necessarily.
So what was the 70% factor?
So 70% is the sale of homes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 11% is the increase in the number of households.
So there are 11% more houses.
Mm-hmm.
So those are basically because we have more being built.
Yeah.
And then the 70%, is that more people putting houses up for sale?
That is, so the sale, was factoring in purchase of a property. So
gotcha.
70% purchase increase over 2020.
Where everybody closed their doors and stayed inside.
Also true. Slightly skewed
Right.
statistic.
Well, yeah. Well, so a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so our history is correct, a lot of the amount of houses being sold in 2020 dropped significantly from the previous years.
Yeah.
And they've slowly. I don't even know if it's really been recovering all that much from what we used to see like year over year.
So they did actually have a graph, and I'm not able to show you guys obviously, but they it was a very steady wavy decline or increase, and then there was a quick decline for 2020 at the very beginning, and then somewhere around like the September-October timeframe, you see this giant hill, a slight bump and level off for Christmas, and then another giant spike into 2021.
I wonder. I'm wondering how much of the that 70% are new homes, right?
That's a good point.
Because we set records on the number we're building.
That is true. We have seen a lot more new homes as well, but
I think we are on an uptick as far as pre-existing homes going back up on the market. So
also
that's good.
True. And so actually, out of the 15, so the metric was they only took counties with 50,000 or more population. So they're not counting super small counties if it has two people and a company buys one house, obviously. So in this case, of counties with 50,000 or more individuals in them in the entire United States, 15 had, I believe it was, I forget the percentage statistic, but they pulled out 15, and of those 15, they were the top. 9 of them were in Texas. So it's become a very attractive market for people who are looking to buy real estate for business purposes, because the average number of business-owned properties across the United States is only about 13%, but in Texas it's over double at 28%.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
makes sense. We had the perfect storm.
Yeah,
low cost of living.
Yeah, no sales
businesses.
tax. They're giving all kinds of incentives for businesses to come here.
You know,
crazy.
The other state that I'm hearing quite a bit. Mississippi?
Really?
Yeah.
I think you were telling me about that.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it at all, but a lot of investor chatter is happening over there because I think they still have one of the lowest costs of living as far as states are concerned in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't have a good segue for this. Anyways, Veal Ranch. It's like I probably thought of one earlier. Don't know.
Yeah.
So Fort Worth. Well, we had talked about, this was one of our earlier podcasts, we had talked about Rivian possibly coming to Fort Worth, and it was in one of the final contenders, ended up going to Georgia. Veal Ranch was up for sale then, and there was a lot of speculation that Rivian was going to buy it or part of it or something. I don't know. Anyways, they didn't buy it, and so a investment firm, PMB Capital, bought it. We don't know for how much. They had listed it was a little over 1,000 acres, listed for like $95 million. And so big price tag. They're planning on doing a big development there. So I don't know how I feel about it. On one hand, I'm like, oh, great, more houses to sell. On the other, Walsh is right off of 30. Mm-hmm. Traffic's a nightmare. And I don't believe that they have a plan to solve that problem, but I don't think it's going to be complete until like 2030. And so as they keep adding houses out there, it's going to become a lot. But Veal Ranch is off of 20 before, if you're familiar with Fort Worth, 20 and 30 kind of run parallel to each other. And then on the west side, they merge together. So it's off of 20, which is nice. So we're not going to be clogging 30 up a lot more with this development. But I think you're going to have the same problem because the highway's not that big going out there.
I think it gets down to like, 2 lanes each side at some points.
Yeah, and so I really hope that I hope that there's something in place or they're planning on doing something. Now, we have no idea how soon this is going to happen, but they're talking about homes starting at $350,000. And I would think if they're talking about homes starting at 350, they've got to have some plans in place already or an idea, because you can't throw 350 out there if it's going to be 3 years from now, because you didn't have a clue.
It won't be worth it then.
My guess is maybe a year, and we'll start to see some houses popping up. But it's for those that are familiar with Fort Worth, it's right next to Ventana, which is basically once you get outside the loop going west, it's like your first exit. It might be 1187. Are you familiar?
I think it's a little bit before that, but
okay.
yeah.
So it looks like it wraps around Ventana. There's part of it that's on the west side, but the bulk of it's on the east side. So some of it's going to be in Aledo School District, and then I think a smaller portion's in Fort Worth. So anyways, we're looking forward to that. It sounds like they're going to have everything from like your typical suburb neighborhood all the way up to acre lots. Mm-hmm. And so I've read different things, but 350 up to $1 million plus is kind of what we were looking at.
Yeah, and then I remember seeing that they're going to be a bunch of industry and stuff in that area as well, and I think they're even going to open up like a hospital and a school.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, that would be good. And they have the nice thing about that area is you've got not too far down, you got Bryant Irving and Hewlin, so you got the mall. There's a ton of restaurants, everything else. So all that stuff is pretty close. It's not like one of these developments where you're way out there. Right. You got to go 15 or 20 minutes to get to anything. So I think it'll do really well. But anyways, if you're thinking about moving here in a couple of years, keep that on the radar.
I mean, that'd be a pretty good quality of life improvement for West Fort Worth. But if we take a look at the eastern side of the DFW Metroplex, Dallas is also working on its quality of life improvements.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Thank you.
What have they got going on?
So Downtown Dallas Incorporated is a branch of the Dallas city that is focusing on the quality of life, the things that go on in the city that aren't necessarily private property or private development, just things that have to do with the city.
Okay.
And they're actually really working because they're actually working with the police department in Dallas as well as the DART police. And if you guys aren't familiar, DART stands for Dallas Area Rapid Transport. They they're the commuting force in Dallas. So they've got the buses, the trains, all.
They have their own police force?
They do, kind of like
no
highway
idea.
patrol. Yeah.
Okay.
Except for, public transportation. Yeah, but so in collaboration with Dallas Police and DART Police, the DDI is what they are calling themselves, Downtown Dallas Incorporated, are looking to raise quality of life for Dallas residents. So they're the biggest thing that they're doing right now is the homeless outreach program, because if you've been anywhere around DFW, we don't have a lot of vagrancy laws and things like that. So there are homeless in certain areas.
Deep Ellum.
Yeah. Under some overpasses, whatever, they got little camps set up. So.
Yeah, 35 and 30 in Fort Worth.
Yeah. And so Dallas is really trying to work on that in like a productive way, not necessarily just like shoo them out, but they've donated $500,000 already to a homeless outreach program. So they're working to coordinate to rehome people and to help people out who are going to be homeless, to help get them back into a place where they can live, to help reduce an increase in homelessness.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that'll be a really big help, especially with housing prices the way they're going. I'm sure it's hard for some people. They're also going to reinstate the DDI Ambassador Program. And so this is sort of like, it's almost like Dallas customer service. So if you have a problem with something or whatever, this is going to be the human interface with your local government. It's your opportunity to be like, hey, this is something that I think we should do, and for them to have somebody there that you can actually interact with in a way that isn't just sending a piece of paper and never hearing back for 3 months.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing that they're trying to do, just to get more in people's faces in a positive way. The article that I was reading was focusing more on the police outreach for these programs, because the police are going to be like directly involved in a lot of this. They're going to be taking care of a lot of the like park checkups and like public area checkups and enforcement and stuff like that. Obviously, regardless of what your political opinion is, like the police recently have not been in the best light in the media. And so, especially given Dallas losing as many residents as it has recently, it's trying to do everything it can to reshape that image and get them out and about and doing things other than just, hey, you got pulled over for a speeding ticket, that sucks. The crowning jewel on all this is their app. It's called Say Now. It is an app you can download that is funded and maintained by Dallas, and what it allows you to do is file quality of life complaints, essentially, things that aren't necessarily going to involve direct, immediate police action. So maybe somebody graffitis a wall, or there's like dilapidated infrastructure or things like that. You can send that their way, and it's your direct connection with the local city in a way that they can build the statistic of like what's important to people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like real-time feedback.
Yeah.
Like it. Well, also as far as quality of living goes, one of the things that boosts it the most is extra money.
That is true.
So let's talk about how you may have some extra money laying around your house. Did you like that? That was
pretty good.
Decent, right? Okay. So yeah, this sounds really cool, but we're going to be talking about taxes. So, I think you had asked me this last week. You had asked about how depreciation works or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It was something we had touched on in one of our topics.
Yeah, we mentioned it, and then we never. You made me realize we never really talked about or explained it. And so, anyways, the tax code allows for investors to depreciate in a house because it's an asset, and over time, it wears out. Is the idea behind it. And so, with that, they basically said you can depreciate it, we'll let you pay less taxes so you can reinvest your money back into the market. And they came up with 27 and a half years. I did some research on why it's 27 and a half years, and the best answer I got was try not to explain anything the government does. Yeah. So I have no idea how they came up with that number, but which, like, the standard loan's 30 years. I'm like, why not 30? I have no idea.
Man, just to mess with us.
Yeah. So anyways, this is something, it only applies towards investment properties. Now, if you're on your own home, you can do a depreciation on areas that you use specifically for business. And there are a few exceptions where you could depreciate everything. One is if you have a separate building or something that you use for storage, and there's some other criteria with it. And the other one's for a daycare. So if you run a daycare for children or for adults 65 and older, which is very
like
specific.
Assisted living.
Yeah, like why 65 though? I guess that's it.
Retirement age?
Isn't that 60? Social Security starts at 60.
I don't know. I think it's all arbitrary, honestly, besides the Social Security thing.
I think that's when you become officially a senior citizen and get all the cool discounts.
Okay.
But anyways, I don't know, government. It's the whole 18 versus 21.
Right.
You join the army, can't drink. So anyways, 27 and a half years. So basically what that means is if you have a $300,000 house that you're renting, you can depreciate it over 27 and a half years. So you take the 300,000 divided by 27.5, and each year you can depreciate, it comes out to $10,909. And then that last year is going to be half of that, I guess, 27 and a half years. Yeah. Anyways, now this is only for the house itself. So if you bought $1 million property and have a little shack on it, and the value's in the land, then you're not going to be able to depreciate all that much. But typically, you said it was like 85% is typically what the home value is going to be?
Yeah, I think it's roughly around that amount, because if we look at most properties, like you were saying, a $350,000 house will probably sit on about $50,000 to $60,000 worth of land.
Yeah, that's probably about right. And you can probably look this up on the whatever county you're in. You look up the tax rolls, and it breaks down what they consider house versus land. So that's probably a good rule of thumb. So anyways, so let's just run through this example. $350,000 property, house is worth $300,000. You can depreciate basically $10,900 per year. And so what that means is you're depreciating the asset that much. Let's say that's going to offset your income. Now, of course, you want to have some kind of income that you can offset. I'm not sure how it works if you're a W-2 employee and have no business.
Have to get creative with those tax forms.
Yeah, this is why everybody should have a business. Again, preaching. So basically, let's say that you're in a 22% tax bracket. So that would essentially save you 22% of the $10,900 or $2,400 per year. So pretty significant, and all you have to do is click a few different buttons on TurboTax or tell your accountant, right? So there's nothing you really have to do. If you are running a business, then you got to figure out what part of your house is considered business use. It also, you could rent a bedroom. Like, let's say that you rent a bedroom out. I did this when I got out of college for a few years, 10 years. So you can depreciate, the bedroom that you're renting or whatever.
Right.
And then, as always, I would always tell you, talk to an accountant, because they change the law whenever they want to.
Yeah, so the wind blows.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but anyways, that's your normal depreciation. Now, there's another one that we've touched on before. I'll just mention it again. It's called cost segregation. If 50% or more of your income comes from real estate, either you or your spouse, then you can do this type of depreciation, which is essentially you hire a firm, they go out, and they itemize everything in the house, your floors, your appliances, your cabinets, your fixtures, and they depreciate them individually. And so when you do that, you can take a much, it's called accelerated depreciation, but basically you can write off a lot more money in 1 year. And so this is a really good tool, especially like if you have a windfall 1 year in business or whatever, you make a huge sell, I don't know what it is, and you need to offset it. Then a lot of times people, that are in this industry will buy property, they'll do a cost segregation, accelerated depreciation on that asset to basically keep more of their money in their pocket instead of giving it to the government, which is crazy to me because the government's so efficient in spending money. But, that's it's a great approach. If you need somebody to do the cost segregation analysis, send us a message. We'll put you in contact with somebody here in DFW that does it.
I think I have a segue, but it's really way too wordy. So I'm basically just going to tell you about how we're going to talk about the lottery. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying I'm not a lawyer. I am not an investment manager. I'm not a legal consultant of any variety or
this is not financial
advisor, none of that. But we are going to go over a unique case study and a good idea of what you should do if you ever run into a winning lottery ticket.
Ah, okay.
We're going to go over the story of Mr. Jack Whitaker, who was a West Virginia man in the mid-2000s that ended up winning the Mega Millions, the biggest jackpot that was ever awarded at that time. So, like, you think about people who win the lottery, and you always hear the thing like, oh, most people end up bankrupt within, like, the first 10 years. Mm-hmm. And that's true. I think it's like a third of individuals who win, like, large amounts of money end up bankrupt within about 10 years.
Yeah.
But this guy, he had a net worth of about $15 million.
Okay.
So he already knew.
Prior to winning.
Correct.
Okay.
He already knew money.
Okay.
So you would think of anyone, he would be the perfect candidate to win the lottery because he's not going to let it go to his head.
Yeah.
So
not much changes, right?
Right, yeah, and he was already the kind of guy who would live on the low. He was like humble but wealthy. So Mr. Whitaker, he wins the lottery and he wins about $315 million. That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
So usually whenever you win the lottery, you get the two choices. You can get an annuity where they pay it out to you, or you can take the lump sum.
Okay.
So he opted for the lump sum, which brings it down to you take, I think, 52% of tax, or 52% loss from taking lump sum, and then you take 33% of tax. Anyway, it ended up coming out to $114 million cash. Still really good.
Still a lot.
Very life-changing. So he does this, and he goes about life as normal. He normally visits a breakfast place every day. He goes there, has his breakfast, goes home, no big deal. Next day, things start changing. He goes there and he finds that every day he's constantly harassed by people like, hey, can you, my kid's got cancer. Hey, I have this great business idea. All these other things. Yeah, of course. Because, for him, it's just a drop in the bucket. But, you got a million drops coming every day.
Right.
So he stops going to his favorite breakfast place. He starts getting harassed out in the street. Hey, you're that guy. Can you help out with this, that, and the third? And he's like, no, whatever. So he starts getting called stingy and mean and cold and all these other things, heartless. And so he stops going out. And then they start harassing him at his house.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so they're ringing his doorbell, knocking on his door early in the morning before he goes to work, all this other stuff. It's basically just ruining his life. He can't do anything, and he's not the only one who's suffering from this. His wife ended up divorcing him. His the person who actually issued the check, the clerk at the gas station, she actually had her house vandalized because there's actually apparently a rumor where the clerk gets like 10% of the earnings from a lottery ticket if it wins.
Is that true?
No, it's not true.
Okay.
They don't get anything. They just get harassed apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, so all these rough things are really happening to him, and a lot of people don't realize this, but lottery ticket winners, like the larger ones, 7 digits and up, are routinely 10 times more likely to be murdered, kidnapped, and end up bankrupt, and over 100 times more likely to end up in a lawsuit or be a victim of fratricide, which is like murder by a family member. So I guess, blood isn't really thicker than water in a situation when it comes to money.
The moral of the story is to win smaller ones.
So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
So you don't end up like Mr. Whitaker. The first thing you need to do when you win the lottery is nothing.
Okay.
Do nothing. Because you don't have to collect as soon as you find out you win. The biggest thing is don't let anyone know. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell your family. Don't tell your spouse. Don't tell your dog. Don't let anyone know that you've won the lottery. Go about your day as normal as possible.
Okay.
And wait for the headlines to die down. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Won the lottery ticket. They won't address you. In some states, they have to. I know California, they have
they publish your name.
Yeah, they'll publish your name in the paper,
Makes
but
sense.
you can ask them not to publish it to like local news outlets and things like that.
Okay.
In DFW, you can remain completely anonymous, and I would suggest you do. So that is step number 1. Do not say anything.
Okay.
The first thing you need to actively do is get a lawyer, and like a good one. So you need to get a hold of like a national firm, somebody who doesn't, not the guy who did your mom's will, not the person who officiated your wedding. Like, I'm talking, find somebody at the next biggest town at a national firm that's been around for like 20, 30 plus years, and go find like one of their founding partners. They're gonna try and pawn you off to like one of the associates, whatever. Don't do it. Like, be like, I need to speak to one of the estate lawyers or firm partners, and don't tell them why. Like, when you finally get that person's ear, then let them know about the situation and keep them on retainer. It's not going to be anything but a drop in the bucket for how much you're going to be keeping if you don't have a lawyer.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because like I said, you are going to be 100 times more likely than the average individual for a lawsuit. And that's what actually ended up bringing down Mr. Whitaker. He was sued by his granddaughter's boyfriend's parents because he died on the property from an overdose, and they blamed him for it. He was a victim of all kinds of lawsuits, just left and right for the dumbest things.
People know you got money, they'll sue you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Step 2, when you actually go to claim it, don't let them like be as anonymous as possible. If you can, wear a mask. Like, don't let any photos be taken. As ridiculous as it sounds, these are the measures you may need to take.
Okay.
And I believe when it comes to winnings over a certain amount, they'll retain it for up to 2 or 3 months, depending on the area. Obviously, check with the rules of whatever lottery you're playing.
Right.
But you may even wait an extended period of time before claiming it, just to make sure that everything has died down and you're not going to be liable to end up in some headline. Whenever you do claim it, get the lump sum. I know everyone's thinking, oh, but the annuity, you'll save so much money and you'll get all this extra. No, you can make, if you're looking for like less than 1% return on your money, you can do better elsewhere. So there's really no point in doing the annuity unless you're just really bad with money and you need an allowance.
But even then, you should be able to take the lump sum, find the best person to help you invest it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second, because step 3 is, if you're going to, I know a lot of people, like, they're like, oh yeah, if I win the lottery, I'm going to buy my family houses and cars and all these other things. I get that. That's super philanthropic and all that jazz. If you're going to do that, find a number, like a percentage or an amount that you're willing and able to give to your family. Talk to your lawyer to draft up a really strong contract, and do not discuss with your family, because you don't want Aunt Sue finding out that she wasn't consulted for the amount she got, but Uncle Bob was. And then your whole family is in shambles. It's really nice for them to get this chunk of change that may help them towards like a wedding or education or something like that, whenever it just comes at them and they have no say in the matter.
See, I feel like you take your first, you set aside 10%,
Mhm.
and that's where you're going to do charity with. And then the rest, I feel like you do the 80-20. 20 is like, I'm going to just do whatever I want with this money. This is my fun money. And then the remaining 80%, you
Mhm.
invest that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as well, because
That'd be my play.
the
That'd be
next
my play, I
thing,
don't
going back to the investing thing that you were talking about, is you're going to be approached by a lot of investment managers.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I wouldn't say that they don't have your best intention at heart, but with amounts like this, for people who may not be financially literate, they don't have your best intentions at heart. They're basically going to do what they're basically going to do is stick it in an index fund and then take their share off the top. You can do that. Like, don't doubt yourself. It's not that hard. So if you get approached by these people, don't say no, because they will be aggressive. They will financially harass you. They will stalk you. Best thing to do is say, I'll get back with you next week, and never call them back. Wait till they forget about you and then move on. The next thing you want to do is you want to protect yourself from yourself. So most people will never even see $315 million in their life. And the jackpot's gone up. So whenever somebody who's never dealt with that kind of money, even like a fraction of that kind of money, eventually gets it, it usually ends up ruining them, because they don't understand how to spend responsibly or in a way that's going to actually benefit them.
Right.
So a good thing to do is to take a good chunk of it, like 20-30%, and stick it into something like a 10-year treasury bond, something that's going to return like 3 to 4%. You think of what, $100 million, 3% of that is $300,000 a year.
You can live on that.
Yeah, that's more than the 1%. That's deep into the 1% of Americans.
Yeah.
Like, you would be very comfortable living off of that.
Sure.
And then if you want to invest it in something else, I would say, like I said, an S&P 500 index fund, something like, and I'm talking for somebody who may be completely financially illiterate, not saying anything, but a lot of people who invest in lottery tickets probably are. So, but if you end up in that position and you want to invest it in something, because a lot of people, they think, oh yeah, I'm going to double my money by doing this, that, and the
Crypto.
third. Yeah, and then it all
Yeah.
goes out the window. And so once you have all of these things set in place, like Tom was saying, you take like 10% even, and you can live a very luxurious life with that kind of money.
Oh, yeah.
So this long rant is basically just to say, be smart, have a plan, and don't trust anyone with that amount of money, no matter how related to you they are.
What brought this on?
So this was actually brought on because a DFW man in South Lake won the Powerball for about $1 million.
Ah, okay.
So
okay.
I saw that headline, and it reminded me, there was a thread on, I think it was Reddit or
Was this recent?
No,
What was his name?
He actually didn't disclose it,
Okay.
which was smart,
All
because
right.
in DFW you don't have to. But he did claim it immediately. He asked not to be identified. The thread was from years ago, and it reminded me of that, and so I went and looked it back up.
Mhm.
And it's actually a very in-depth information based on somebody who claims he wasn't a winner of the lottery, but was very close to somebody who did, who was much more financially sound than he was. And so he put together a story based on that person's experience.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, awesome. Anything else?
No.
That's all we got for you this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.